You know, we've known each other a long time. I'll really miss the good times that we've had together. And, you know, I guess it's like all good things must come to an end. I'll miss you, old administration building. Well, now that I've said my goodbyes, it's time to celebrate the move of the administration building and the construction of a new public safety center. There's going to be a lot happening right here in the downtown area over the next 3 years or so. Moving utility customer service and the human resource department, it's just one of the first steps to this large change. And even though they just moved a couple of blocks, it took a lot of planning to accomplish. Here's a look at the move they had to make and how they're offering customers many ways to pay their utility bills.
Moving is never easy. Just ask the city employees in the Utility Customer Services Department or those in Human Resources and the Finance Department. They are in the process of packing up boxes, files, and practically everything else.
All of the equipment, all of the desks, bookcases, even some of the structure is going to actually be going with us in terms of keeping some of the doors and keeping some of the things that we have here that we can reuse.
Their new destination will be at 7 North Broadway in downtown Edmond. When everything and everyone has been moved, the older administration building on First Street will be demolished.
This site, and specifically this building, was probably the least desirable building of all the ones that we have in the city, and so it was going to be torn down, and the entire space, including the parking lot, would be used for the new public safety center.
The older administration building has been used for many different purposes. At one point, it was a parking garage. Since then, it has undergone several renovations to repurpose it into an office building, which has created its own challenges.
This building is very difficult to heat and cool. Because it wasn't designed for an office building, so there's an awful lot of issues in terms of how the comfort levels are made. Structurally, it's not very well built for office space, so there's been some challenges with this building.
Utility Customer Services, the department responsible for handling utility payments and opening accounts, has dealt with the problems of the building for the past 25 years. As Edmond has grown in population, the department has grown as well, while the building has not. The room that once housed the city manager now holds 4 workstations. The configuration of the various departments throughout has created other problems as well.
I have about a third of my department completely separated by another department sitting in the middle. So, you know, that hinders communication.
The new administration building is designed to correct that issue. Now each department will be grouped together in the building, allowing employees and customers to get their business taken care of more conveniently. Linda Courtwright, the Director of Utility Customer Service, is planning the move of her 26 employees so that it has a minimal effect on their customers.
We are going to kind of move in phases. We'll start with a small group getting over there, getting started up, getting everything implemented, and then we'll make sure everything works, because there's always that challenge as far as making sure that the phones work, making sure that we can post payments, everything else when you move to a new building. So it'll be quite the feat to tear down 26 cubicles that are desks and everything else, and then put them back together in a totally different reconfiguration.
The idea of moving and at the same time having to continue working and doing all the things that they're supposed to be doing is pretty tough. We have to be able to close on a Friday night and open on a Monday morning.
One thing that will not be moving to the new location is a drive-through window.
We did a survey of all of the drive-through customers. So for 30 days, every customer that came through the drive-through, we asked, if you had an option, if this drive-through went away, what would you want to see? And they wanted to see more multiple locations that they could go and make a payment to. Normally right now we have about 3 cashiers on the front line that they can make payments to, and they want more of those. So by doing that and removing the drive-through, we'll move that person up to a cashier. So we'll pretty much have 4 cashiers on a front line at all times.
There are several other ways for you to make payments that are convenient, quick, and free. You can have your utility payments automatically drafted from your bank account on a date that you choose. This eliminates late payments and is quite helpful during the busy times of the year. There's also a fast and convenient method to manage your utility accounts online called eCity Express. eCity Express gives you a secure way to receive, manage, and pay your Edmond utility bills online. This method is extremely popular with our customers because the service is right there at your fingertips and can even be managed on the go.
It takes check or credit card, and there are no fees, no processing fees. Like you see with a lot of, even our surrounding communities charge a convenience fee for those internet payments. We do not.
The free telepay option is another way to make payments. With this method, payments are made over the phone using a debit card, credit card, or even a check.
That's one of our newest programs, and you can actually dial in, pay by check or for credit card, and again, no processing fees on that as well. So we've tried to give those avenues and respond to that survey that we did for those customers.
The city is also in the process of setting up payment kiosks throughout Edmond for utility payments.
And that will give them the opportunity to go in, make a credit card, or a check or a cash payment and get a receipt for that.
Find out more about the many ways you can make a payment by visiting edmondok.com or by calling 359-4541. The new administration building is located at 7 North Broadway in downtown Edmond.
Okay, so I've gotten my bill paid, and now I know a lot more about making utility payments in other ways too. I think I'll sign up for the eCity Express and pay my bill online next month. Now, if you need to visit with Utility Customer Service or the Human Resources Department, be sure and come down to their new location at 7 North Broadway in downtown Edmond. Now, coming up after the break, we'll learn how the city of Edmond became, well, the city of Edmond. Stay tuned.
For over 100 years, Edmond Electric has been passed down from one generation to the next. Along with it, a legacy of exceptional reliability and a commitment to making our community a better place to live. We maintain some of the lowest electric rates in the metro and contribute over $5 million annually right back into our community. Just how do we make this possible? Learn more at edmondelectric.com.
Acceptable? Yes! Now there are more items you can place in your Edmond recycling bin, like plastics marked 1 through 7. Edmond recycles. It's what we do. Changing your view is what we want to do.
I'm really excited to show you our next video segment. Now, this has been a history project that we've been planning for quite some time. Now, often as we drive through Edmond, if you're like I am, you'll get caught right at the railroad tracks that run through the middle of our city. I know it's annoying, but did you know that those tracks are the reason that we even have a community here today? Here's more about the roots of Edmond.
Edmond, Oklahoma, known today as nothing less than one of the finest cities that the Midwest has to offer. You'll find Edmond nestled between Oklahoma's state capital, Oklahoma City, and the original state capital, Guthrie. Known for its sense of community and an intriguing quality of lifestyle, Edmond is home to over 83,000 people and growing, yet it still maintains a small-town feel. Edmond offers unique shopping, wonderful restaurants, beautiful parks, and countless recreational amenities. Families have the opportunity to live in the midst of the city action or enjoy sites slightly off the beaten path, while still within the city limits. But how did Edmond become the destination it is today? You might be surprised to know that its roots began as nothing more than a watering hole. Let's go back to 1866, when Oklahoma was still known as Indian Territory. At the time, many Native American tribes were facing repercussions for siding with the Confederacy during the Civil War. Reconstruction treaties redrew the lines of ownership in the Midwest, opening up new so-called unassigned lands that were ready for habitation. Railroad companies and homesteaders were eager to expand into the 2 million acres. They pushed their congressmen to open the vast prairie to the public domain. The establishment of Edmond as a station along the Santa Fe Railroad line began in 1884. On July 4th of that year, Congress granted a construction contract to the Southern Kansas Railway Company to lay a railroad line from Kansas right through the unassigned lands of Indian Territory. By the spring of 1887, 15 surveyors left Arkansas City, Kansas, laying out a new route to Gainesville, Texas, and marking potential sites for coal and water stations. In the area now known as downtown Edmond, the surveyors documented their first observation of the town, noting that it had a good spring. The area was first named Mile Marker 103, indicating the number of miles from Arkansas City. Expansion of the railroad system soon followed, with hard-working crews building tracks at a rate of 1.5 miles a day. The first priority for Edmond's station was the construction of a water well and a coaling station, so that passing locomotives could fill their tanks and fuel their engines. In the 19th century, steam engines without tenders had to stop every 10 miles to refill their water supply and to keep their boilers replenished. The first family to call mile marker 103 their home was the Steen family. John Steen was an experienced Santa Fe Railroad worker, employed as an engineer, fireman, conductor, and brakeman before coming to Edmond. Steen was brought in from New Mexico in the winter of 1886 to complete the massive water well alongside the railroad tracks. Under his supervision, road crews hand-dug the well with picks and shovels to an eventual depth of 130 feet. The well was 24 feet across and lined with 2 feet of rock to prevent the walls from collapsing. The well was then covered with a conical roof to keep the water clean. Nearby, a large water tank was built on stilts, strategically close to the railroad track. Trains would stop and fill up their tenders using up to 3,600 gallons of water, along with 5 tons of coal for a 100-mile trip. Back then, a ton of coal was $1.88. Only one passenger and one freight train passed through each day. John Steen and Santa Fe crews also built a small red pump house that delivered water from the well to the water tank. The pump house also served as a home for John, his wife Cordelia, and their son Charlie. In the wintertime, the boiler and pumps inside provided extra heat, keeping the family warm. In the summer, the Steens would set up cots and sleep outside. They spent their first Christmas at the pump house, decorating the branch of a blackjack oak tree in the winter of 1888. This photograph depicts the first Christmas in Edmond's history. Charlie Steen received a rocking horse as his present that day. You can see a light dusting of snow on the ground and a bird cage hanging on the outside wall. Young Charlie Steen grew to adulthood in Edmond. He would later recall how his mother cooked meals for hungry train crews, how his father hunted deer from the front door of their pump house home, and how blanketed Indians would sometimes come to trade fresh meat for flour and coffee. Today, these railroad tracks still run through the heart of downtown Edmond. For over 120 years, freight has been moved along these same tracks, even as the landscape around them changed significantly. What was once a vast prairie of buffalo wallows, wagon roads, and a few wooden buildings has become a lively community with paved 4-lane roads, brick homes, and bustling businesses. Learn more about the history of Edmond, its first settlers, and the railroad by visiting the Edmond Historical Society and Museum at 431 South Boulevard.
Well, that's our show, and I hope you've enjoyed it and learned a lot about how to pay your utility bills and where to go to do it. I also hope you've learned a lot about the history of our city and its meager beginnings as a watering stop for trains. Come down to the Edmond Historical Museum and learn more about the people and places that make Edmond such a great place to grow. We'll see you next time on Your Edmond.